It's only been a few weeks since Porsche announced the 992.2 GT3, and we're already learning that anyone who purchases one will be paying between $400,000 to $500,000. So how does a $222,000 car become a $500,000 car? When the 992.1 GT3 first hit the market in 2022, it had a base price of roughly $164,000. Porsche later raised that price to about $189,000, but for the first year and a half, it was a $164,000 car. But anyone who bought that car new wasn't paying anywhere close to $164,000. They were paying about $350,000 for their new GT3. So how did it get there? Well, on top of the base price, there was the cost of options, then destination and processing fees, and then there was the biggest fee of all, the dealership markup. Fast forward to 2024, and Porsche has introduced what is roughly the same car, but with a base price of $222,000. That's a $58,000 markup from the 2022 GT3. And it's not just the base price that's going up. If you thought the dealership markups from 2022 were bad, you're probably not ready for 2024, because look at this. But wait, it gets worse. So let's break this down and talk about how these issues and rumors are going to affect dealership markups. Remember the 911R? This was a limited production GT3, which was rumored to be the last GT3 with the manual transmission ever made. And because of this rumor, the 911R, which had a base price of $185,000, typically sold for about $300,000, just because of the manual transmission rumor. Well, now, with rumors saying that the 992.2 GT3 is going to be the last GT3 with a naturally aspirated engine ever made, and the last GT3 with the manual transmission ever made, this is going to be the 911R situation on steroids. And then on top of all this, supply chain shortages are forcing Porsche to reduce production of their cars, and reduced inventory leads to increased demand, which in turn leads to increased dealership markups. But just how true are the rumors about the next GT3 being hybrid or turbo? If you're new to my channel, I publish original Porsche-focused content every week. So if you're not subscribed yet, click below to subscribe. And be sure to click the notifications bell so you can be notified about my latest videos. As of now, Porsche can continue building and selling naturally aspirated GT3s at least until 2035. And they have the option of building naturally aspirated GT3s and selling them outside of Europe indefinitely. But the question is, do they want to? The reason behind the panic surrounding the internal combustion engine ban is a European legislative act known as Euro 7 emissions regulations. And according to the Council of the European Union, European 7, as it's called, is a single legislative act that covers all on-road vehicles, both light and heavy duty. This change harmonizes the regulations in several aspects, but different tests and criteria will be applied to both categories. But regarding internal combustion engines for light-duty road cars, the language of the Euro 7 legislation specifically states that new combustion cars and vans will be banned on the internal market from 2035. That means Porsche or any other car manufacturer can continue building and selling internal combustion, naturally aspirated engines in Europe until 2035. But there is a growing number of automotive manufacturers protesting Euro 7, and it is most likely going to get rewritten to allow companies to continue building naturally aspirated cars beyond 2035. So as it stands, Porsche can legally continue to build naturally aspirated engines for years to come, especially since they have phased out the majority of their internal combustion only cars for 2026 and beyond. But regardless of this, they may have already decided to abandon the naturally aspirated engine. Many people still see Porsche as a company that wants to produce cutting-edge sports cars, but over the last few years, Porsche's top goal has been selling electric cars in China. And as of now, Porsche is claiming that they may not be building naturally aspirated engines after 2026. But they absolutely can if they want to. And if you don't believe me, just ask Ferrari. Ferrari presently makes two cars that have 12-cylinder naturally aspirated engines, the 12 Cylindri and the 812 Superfast, and they have no intention of ending production of either of these cars. In fact, Ferrari has said that at least 20% of their cars will remain purely combustion at least until 2030. So even though Ferrari is subject to the same Euro 7 restrictions that Porsche is, Ferrari has publicly stated they will continue producing naturally aspirated engines for at least another 5 years. So while it's not true that Porsche will be forced to stop building naturally aspirated GT3s, Porsche may simply volunteer to stop building them and simply move away from naturally aspirated engines sooner than they have to. But even though this is only a rumor at this point, there is a good chance that it becomes a real-life, unfortunate decision that Porsche decides to make. But how true is the rumor about this being the last GT3 with the manual transmission? Well, to put it simply, if Porsche decides to make the GT3 a hybrid after 2026, the rumor will be true. But if Porsche keeps the GT3 naturally aspirated or makes it turbocharged, then the GT3 will keep its manual transmission. So from where we stand now, both of the rumors about this being the last GT3 with the naturally aspirated engine and the last GT3 with the manual transmission are simply just that. Rumors, and they will most likely remain rumors for the next 2 years. But there's more to the story than just Euro 7, as two recent developments within the automotive industry are both affecting Porsche negatively. One is that China's economy is beginning to weaken, which is causing sales of luxury vehicles to drop quickly. And this is going to hurt Porsche significantly, as their top focus has been building and selling EVs to China. Another development is that worldwide consumers are beginning to trend away from EVs, as people are learning that they are more harmful to the environment than promised, and they begin to grow tired of the many inconveniences that come with owning an EV. Consumers are losing faith in electric vehicles, and many are turning back to internal combustion cars. And when you consider that Porsche has put most of their eggs in the EV basket, don't forget that the next generation Boxster and Cayman are going to be EV, this decision will cause a drastic drop in sales for Porsche, and they may have no other choice but to increase production of internal combustion cars. But as far as the dealerships are concerned, the rumors about Porsche abandoning manual transmissions and naturally aspirated engines are true, because this creates panic, and panic inspires people to do things like pay a $150,000 dealership markup. And if you're thinking that no one will pay $500,000 for a new GT3, regardless of what happens, remember the 911R that we talked about earlier? The people who paid about $300,000 for that car were able to turn around and sell them for $1 million on the secondhand market. And people were happy to pay it until Porsche announced that the next GT3 would have a manual transmission. And then after that, prices dropped by about 60%. So if people were perfectly happy to pay $1 million for a $185,000 car, then those same people will no doubt be happy to pay $500,000 for a $222,000 car. But before anyone does, they should stop and think about all the other cars they can buy for the cost of a new GT3, like a GT2 RS, a 911R, a GT3 RS, or you could buy a 992.1 GT3 and GT3 Touring. But there's a saying for situations like this: some people have more dollars than sense. Thanks for watching, and for more Porsche content that you cannot find anywhere else, click here to subscribe.